Sauvage TV is a full creative production and post-production house, and we have a roster of directors, creatives, photographers, and other artists, and we are used to work on international campaigns from ideation to final delivery. We work with Riot Games a couple of times in the past, and every time that they come to us, we are really excited. When they come this time, it was to do a new music video for 6 characters of their franchise League of Legends, and they wanted a music video where the boys will bond through the concept of a heist. They left it up to Ernest, our director, and creatives to create the idea, a complete freedom to develop the idea around that concept. The other big point was the style. They wanted something completely new. They wanted the painterly look on the textures, but having the properties of the realistic lighting and shaders, and have control over the stylization of the final image.
So we knew we wanted a way to control and really art direct the way our renders looked beyond the traditional tools of lighting and shading inside of our render engine. We wanted to provide traditional artists, concept artists, a way to paint directly over the geometry. This tool basically is a way for a more traditional artist to interact directly with the render and be able to have it sample the colors and the shading and the lighting information of the render. So you're not really choosing the colors, you're just smudging and smearing a little bit and really giving that human imperfection to the perfect renders that sometimes CGI tends to be really clean, pristine, and sometimes a bit boring. We didn't want to lose the digital roots of our work. It's a digital project, and we were not trying to fake, watercolors or anything, but we wanted the human touch. And this tool gave us a way to achieve that in a very streamlined way, and making it in Houdini was quite easy and quite straightforward.
I'm not a Houdini artist. I do not come from using Houdini on my work. I do not use it. Not at all, but I had a concept of Houdini, but I was very intimidated by it. But this tool made it so I could understand how to, in a basic way, I could understand it better, and I found the motivation to learn a bit of Houdini, and I think that was a very fun way, an unexpected way for me to be interested in the program. And now I use it quite a lot. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, the beauty of this whole process was being able to create a tool with limited resources by a small team, and passing it on to an artist that comes from a different background other than Houdini, and watching that tool being used, and that artist giving the new power to create something different.
Approaching this program from this perspective was such a great experience. It was so handcrafted. Taking a bit on this human touch for the final look of the film, and getting a tool that actually allowed us to do this was, yes, very amazing to be a part of.
Yeah.